While NATO Secretary-General Jens Stoltenberg seems to suggest that Ukraine would have to compromise on possible negotiations with Russia. In an interview to the BBC, which was published on Saturday, Stoltenberg clarified that the West would support Ukraine in the long term. He said Western countries would invest in Ukraine's defense capabilities to make it more resilient to future strikes. This report puts recent developments into the context.
Just a few days ago, on the 4th of April, NATO members celebrating the 75th anniversary of the strongest military alliance in history with pledges to support Ukraine to the very end.
Today we will address Ukraine's urgent practical and political needs, including how to strengthen NATO support for Ukraine. At Vilnius, we agreed a package of measures to bring Ukraine closer to NATO. And as we prepare for our Washington summit, we are working together to cement Ukraine's path towards NATO membership. This matters for Ukraine's security and for our security.
However, the funding plan for Ukraine doesn't seem to have the entire backing of the security alliance, with reports suggesting not all members agree. NATO chief Stoltenberg had proposed creating $107 billion 5-year fund to support Ukraine, but the idea drew mixed responses from NATO members. Then came an interview to the BBC published on Saturday in which Stoltenberg has said, and I quote, "Even if we believe and hope that the war will end in the near future, at the end of the day, it has to be Ukraine that decides what kind of compromises they are willing to do," unquote. He added that the West's role is to help Kiev reach a negotiating position that could produce an acceptable result. He, however, did mention that he was not pushing Kiev toward any concessions, emphasizing that the real peace can only be achieved with the Ukrainian victory. It is clear that extending support and aid to Ukraine emerged as a contentious topic among NATO member countries as foreign ministers met for 2 days of talks at the alliance headquarters in Brussels, Belgium, concluding on Thursday. NATO alliance members had agreed to scour their arsenals for more air defense systems to protect Ukraine from Russian ballistic missile attacks.
He said,
NATO is not party to the conflict, and NATO will not be party to the conflict. But NATO is providing support to Ukraine to help them defend themselves. And we just have to remember again and again what this is. This is one country, Russia, attacking another, invading another country.
Russia claims it is open to talks with Ukraine, but asserts that Ukraine must accept its borders have changed drastically since the start of the military operation. Ukraine advocates a 10-point peace formula demanding that Moscow withdraws its troops from territories it has occupied, apart from a tribunal to prosecute Russian war crimes. This is a position Moscow says is detached from reality. Ukrainian President Zelensky, in remarks published on Saturday, said his country is awaiting a much-needed large-scale aid package from the United States and that he still believes will get approval from the US Congress. He also hopes the setup of a peace summit in Switzerland with around 100 countries participating. If there is any hint in a change of stance, Zelensky suggested last month that a return to Ukraine's 1991 borders was no longer a precondition for negotiations. He still insists that Kiev must regain its territories annexed by Moscow in 2022. Bureau Report, DD, India.